Hello and welcome to another episode of Fully Charged, which is coming today, as you can see, not from some busy road in an urban area, but from a beautiful field on a beautiful farm in Devon. These are eco chargers, amazing electric quads, and I'm going to find out more about them today because they really are quite nippy. So the thing about quad bikes is, and I've ridden a lot of them, I used to use them on Scrap Heap Challenge all the time, they're really noisy, the body vibrates, it's really hot between your legs, it's this great big noisy thing, and you've got to refuel them all the time because they don't go very far on a charge. Interestingly, a quad bike doesn't, there's about 20 or 30 miles on a tank. This is an electric quad bike that can be charged from solar or wind on a farm, which is what happens here. This is a farm that is powered by solar panels. And you don't have to go and get any fuel. You just plug it in. This does 20 or 30 miles of this kind of terrain, really rough terrain. So it's exactly the same as a petrol quad bike, just much quieter. We're driving through a field full of sheep. They're barely taking any notice of us. So the lambs are running over, that's very cute. They're really easy to drive. You just use your thumb on the throttle there. The more you push it, the faster you go. Those are the brakes. It's very, very easy to ride. Children can ride them, you know, they're very easy. You've got to be careful, obviously, can't be stupid. I mean, this school here where they have these quad bikes, they used to get through £400 worth of fossil fuel a day, 400 quid. That's a lot of money. Now, they don't spend any money on fuel. They just plug them in during the lunch break and off they go again. And they're not slow, believe you me. These things are terrifyingly quick. I got a bit moist that time. All right, when you stop, it goes quiet because there's not an engine ticking over, and it'll go over stuff like this without a second thought. Of course, the other thing that's very good about an electric quad bike is when you're going down a bit of a hill, it's got regen braking, so it's getting the power back into the battery, because the sort of hills you can go down in these are staggeringly steep. And you wouldn't want to come up this in a car. This is not an easy track to ride. And there's some really steep tracks they've got on here that are just scary and amazing. But even doing this, I mean, what's weird is I'm so used to petrol quads and the noise, you wouldn't hear me talking if I was on a petrol quad. It would be all the time, but really noisy. And this is so nice and quiet and peaceful. Even though we're going over incredibly rough tracks. It's got a very comfy saddle, even though it's a bit bumpy. They are such fun. That is fantastic. So what I'm interested in is why you started doing this.
Having run a quad hire business for several years, and with the inflation of fuel and the emissions and all that brings, I thought, well, what could we possibly bring to the market that would make a difference? Yeah. And being that I'd worked on quad bikes for 10 or 15 years and sort of know the industry and the bikes inside out, I thought, well, it's got to be possible. And we found that the efficiencies in batteries, motor and controller technology have moved on just enough to, the scale of diminishing returns, gave us the ability to build a working prototype. Right. And this is what we set about doing. So build an engineering sample and then taking the product to market. Right. Not realizing at the time, luckily, probably, that people just don't normally do this sort of thing. Yes. And now, having run the gauntlet of the process, I now know why. Yeah. With CE marking, processing, and the accreditations needed. So the whole project has been quite exciting mechanically wise, and quite demotivating at times with paperwork and that side of things. Yeah. So, and obviously you can tell which side I would enjoy most, Yes, yeah. Welding bits of metal together.
Because that's the thing that you wouldn't even dream of asking on a petrol quad bike. You just get on one and go, and off it goes. You wouldn't ever ask the manufacturer, the salesperson, or anyone, what's the range on a tank? I've got no idea. Whereas immediately someone would see an electric one, they go, what's the range? Having no idea what the range is on a regular quad.
No, and I mean, what I've come to realise is that we have struggled for the last 100 years in replicating the amount of kilojoules of energy there is in a gallon of fuel,
which is phenomenal.
Is phenomenal, even with the fact that it's so inefficient.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it's wasted in heat and vibration and noise. But you know, we've proved that it can be done.
Right.
But a quad bike largely operates within a parameter of a farm or some land.
Yes.
So it's and this was another reason we're only interested in bringing vehicles to the market ourselves that are capable of doing the job that they're intended for. The farm that we've developed them on is a 4-mile radius.
Right.
So technically we could go out and do 15, 20 miles a day.
Right.
And we do occasionally do that. Right. So the bikes don't run out of range, and we found that we thought originally when we started selling them into farmers and landowners, we would get the obligatory, my bike is flat at the bottom of the hill, what are you going to do about it? But we found that range hasn't been an issue at all. You're fighting against perception. And when we've proved the vehicles and proved they're more powerful than the standard counterparts, people will deny that.
Right.
And they'll watch the
Even
video.
though they can see it in front of them.
Even in plain sight, they will still try and argue the fact, because we are ingrained that petrol is runs through our DNA almost, as in the industrial world. Yeah. So, but I believe that, the way forward, is electric, because of the nature of the machines, and the recyclability of them.
But also, at a place like this in particular, I mean, because a lot of people say, oh, I couldn't put solar panels on my roof, or I live in a terrace street, I can't charge. But, in a farm, you've got room, you've got barns, you've got, so you could create the power that you use.
I mean, as you've identified, farmers especially, we've hosted open days for the CLA, for the NFU have come to the property and had a look at what we've achieved in sort of what would deem to be a Heath Robinson manner.
Yeah.
But I mean, we build the bikes with 80% renewable technology. So the plasma cutting, the welding, the lighting, the heating of the factory, the processing of the logs from the farm are all based around, renewable energy.
Right.
So we use electric chainsaws, electric strimmers.
Right.
So the project has a lot more facets to it. We set up with small wind turbines, large wind turbines. Right. The shed, the factory that we're in, has about 80 panels on the roof. Right. And we store 50 kilowatts of solar energy into an Australian outback system, and then we use that to power the shed. And basically that's part and parcel of the project. And because I wanted to not just make a bike that ran green, but was also built in a green way. The whole equation of how we power our lives is very important. Yeah. And if anything, that needs highlighting. Because we don't know how many tons of coal or oil or gallons of oil a day does it take us to run our life. And it's only when actually being, realizing what power is and how it's moved around and stored, that I've sort of become aware of how unaware people are.
Is it based on a sort of chassis or a frame that a gas engine would be in?
Basically, the bike consists of componentry that already exists.
Right.
I mean, we don't manufacture bearings and differentials and things like that. But we make the plates to mate it all together. Right. And also, we've coupled various manufacturers' technology together, with and without their help and support at some points. The bike has been developed to be, reliable. So in the 40 or 50 bikes that we now have in the field, we've experienced very little, wear and we've a bit of wear and tear. Yeah. But on the brakes, with the regenerative braking, the bike has a better brake life. Right. And because the bike doesn't have carbon running through it, i.e. from an engine burn running into oils, and there's possibly 1,000 less moving parts, the bike is a lot cheaper to service and maintain. It's a very successful motor built by the Lynch Motor Company, and is a local motor. But can peak at sort of 30 horsepower. So it's a very powerful, dense unit, and also runs at somewhere in the region of 90 to 95% efficiencies.
Yes. Yeah.
So and the batteries we're using are Odyssey batteries, which we're moving to, which are again, you can charge them at an unlimited rate. So you can charge them in half an hour if you've got a strong enough supply. Right.
But in terms of weight, then, would this be heavier than the equivalent?
It is heavier because we've chosen to use the highest end thin plate lead acid technology we can. And the batteries are a very high end unit, and they're only used in the highest application. So but it enables the bike to have a lot of torque, a lot of power, and a lot. The batteries have a good crank.
And was your decision to go, because they're lead acid based battery, aren't they? It was your decision to go with that rather than, say, a lithium-ion pack, a cost-based thing.
Cost and also reliability.
Right.
You know, a quad bike is almost better to be a little bit heavier because
Right.
they are a tool for work. And if you've got a high-powered light vehicle, like most quad bikes, they tend to skate around and perform, you know.
They'll throw up a lot of mud, but they might
Exactly.
not move that very quickly.
Whereas this punches through the surface and,
Right.
you know, can punch above its class.
Right.
So this is why, you know, like on our website, you'll see it towing other quads
Yes.
backward. You know, people live in far-flung destinations, have to spend more time getting fuel and driving to get fuel than they use.
Yeah.
So because this can be powered from a wind turbine or a PV array or, you know, everybody's got electric.
Yes.
And it's, you know, it's in sockets around the premises.
Yeah, you can plug it in the
Plug it
next to
anywhere.
the fridge, can't you?
And it's got a 3.5 hour, you know, charge time if it's completely flat.
Right. So if you plugged it into a 13 amp, just an ordinary
About
wall
3.5
socket,
hours.
that only takes 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. But we find that on average, when we look back over the data of our customers, the average mileage is about 6 miles a day.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
they can just plug it in at night, and then it's
and
ready in the
they're
morning.
using the vehicles, you know, around the holding and plugging them in during the lunch hour as well.
Right.
If they're doing a lot of work-based tasks.
Yeah. So we've had a brilliant day here at Keypits Farm. It's absolutely amazing. You can come here, you can rent these electric quad bikes. They're fantastic fun. It's worth a visit. It's beautiful. The sea's just there. It's absolutely gorgeous. The barn and the factory that they make them in is all powered by renewables. It's an amazing achievement they've done here. It's really, really spectacular. I love it. So it's fantastic. So anyway, thank you very much for watching Fully Charged. Thank you for subscribing if you have. If you haven't, go on, give it a subscription. You love it. And also a bit of Patreon. Follow the link, have a look. It's very nice. And if you have been, thank you for watching.